Hello and welcome to Confidently Wrong, a show by regular dudes talking with confidence about content we have no right to speak about with any kind of authority, but do it anyway. I'm Wesley Nakamura, and as always, I'm joined by award-winning director Brian Redondo and Savon Jones, aka Captain Vonnie. This is episode 225, and we try to process the visually stunning animated film Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender. I'm confident that it's going to be the best show you've ever listened to, and well, hey, if it's not, you can always ask us for a refund.
Incredible!
Hello, gentlemen. Welcome back. Is Confidently Wrong. Hello,
Hola.
Brian. Hello, Savon.
Howdy.
Brian, are we still in our Knicks era?
We are.
It's been 2 months since the
Like
championship.
the advent calendar.
Yeah, he's still pulling out a new shirt every day.
I got something fresh for all of y'all because it's Knicks season in New York.
Is it still Knicks season? It's not
It
Giant
is.
season?
No.
No? We're not ready for that yet. Training camp is opened, I think.
If they want Giant season, they got to win if they want it to be Giant season.
That's maybe true. You got a new coach, though. There's reason to be somewhat optimistic. Let's get into our show today. We are talking about Avatar Aang, The Last Airbender, brand new movie, animated feature film. They mostly debuted this on Paramount Plus. It was supposed to get a theatrical release, but then decided that it should be on Paramount Plus. I don't know what went into that decision. I didn't follow the drama. Only a little bit of maybe disappointment from a lot of fans that they didn't get to see it in theaters. Yeah, I don't know. What were you excited to see about this? It's been a while since we've been in the Avatar world. We had Legend of Korra, a number of years ago, and we've had the live action show on Netflix. But this is the first new Aang property we've had in a bit. Savon, how are you feeling about this?
I was excited for it. I'm a longtime fan of the series. I've liked the novels, the comics, shows, all this stuff. So I'm always excited for anything that has the gang coming back. And unlike the live action adaptation,
The Yang Gang.
it's a little more split on. The original creators were deeply involved in the creation of this show, and so anything that has the original minds being deeply involved with a good budget, it's like, hey, I trust everything y'all do, and so I'll be here. Like when they announced it, I said, okay, cool. I have a pledge. You have a money pledge. Now let's just put it out, and I'll be there. So this was a matter of when, not if.
Nice. And you didn't feel like, hey, we told Aang's story beginning to end, kind of I think a lot of people regard it as for animation, kind of a masterpiece of a series. It was really well planned out, finished really strong. You didn't feel like, well, I kind of don't need to revisit that world because it's already there. You were just like, bring on more. I want to see more stories in this universe.
No, people love the Avatar universe because it's so fun. It's so beautiful. There's so much lore. There's so much creative, original ideas and real life inspirations that no matter what, they're going to have fun with it. And the setup of it being a show of people having like a reincarnation cycle, it sets itself up as a world that you always want to revisit because there's always a cool story and world to tell. So, and here's the thing. Yeah, we got Aang's early story finished, but like the dude has an entire life. So we can tell another story in this man's life. Like, even if it's just a slice of life adventure, a new threat. The dude's avatars will always have some shit to deal with. I will always be more than happy to watch, okay, what's the Avatar got to deal with this week, this season, this year, this movie, this show. Like, that formula will always be entertaining. So, I'm here.
Brian, how about you?
So important to note that the Netflix live action Avatar series, the original creators of Avatar were involved initially and then famously dropped out of that project and then went over back.
That's what I was remembering.
They went over back to
dropped out of this one.
Paramount. Yeah, and like started a whole Avatar Studios where now they are actively pumping out more and more Avatar products, right? So later this year, we're going to get entirely new Avatar series, Avatar Seven Havens, which takes place after The Legend of Korra. I don't even know how many Avatars after. New setting entirely, kind of post-apocalyptic looking. And I believe the Avatars, the Avatar are a pair of twins or something like that. So that's just one project, and then now they also have this movie, Avatar. What's it called? Avatar Aang, the Last Airbender, right? And so we're getting tons of new Avatar content. And this movie is part of, or the first salvo in the original creators and their new studio's effort to almost like revive Avatar as a as an IP, right? Rather than trying to just rehash the same stories from before, which is basically what the live action is doing. And so getting a new story, a new Avatar story from the original creators is nothing but exciting. I've been waiting for this like for a long time. And I am glad to report that I'm one of the few people that have been able to see it in a movie theater.
We don't care.
All
We don't
right.
care.
You guys missed out.
You got to see it in theaters, and you said it was a pretty fun experience
because all the Avatar fans showed out. It was only in like maybe 4 theaters in the US and only for a week or less than a week. So those things sold out real fast, and that's because they were packed to the gills with just the most avid fans. And of course they're hooting and hollering for everything in this movie, right? Like as soon as Katara's like embracing a shirtless Aang from behind, like, oh my god, like the swoons in that theater were reverberating into New Jersey. Like, it was crazy.
Oh, just a bunch of horny Avatar fans in there.
Yes.
We love that. All right. And I imagine, I think you should talk about this on the next question, but I imagine just seeing it on the big screen was kind of cool. Did you check it out on Paramount Plus to just kind of compare?
No, I have not seen that version.
I was not anticipating anything. I'm not like the biggest Avatar fan. I enjoy the show, but I'm not, steeped in the lore. I'm not really exploring it. I'm not looking for new content. But I was excited just to see like, hey, it seems like people are excited about this. I want to see what story they could come up with. If it was awesome, great. If it wasn't, oh well, like I wasn't sort of like emotionally invested in the success of this particular movie. I do want to say that the way we're going to structure this pod is first, 5 minutes or so here, 10 minutes here will be just kind of setting up what we felt about the movie kind of originally without getting into too many details. That way, if you haven't seen it yet, you can decide whether you want to pay for that Paramount Plus subscription for a month or borrow somebody's password for a month to go check it out. So that's what we'll be moving on with. This movie takes place after the original Airbender show, but way before The Legend of Korra. So we're kind of getting Team Avatar as a little bit older teenagers, maybe young 20s, kind of young adults. Did you feel like that was kind of a fun time period for them to be in? Ryan, how'd you feel like that worked for the story?
It's definitely an interesting place for them to be in, right? Where they're now adults. They have already...
They're leaders, right?
They're leaders, right? Zuko is on the throne in the Fire Nation, and Katara have already built Republic City, which is, the city where everything in Legend of Korra takes place. They don't have kids yet, right? So this is still like a little bit earlier on in their adulthood, right? And so they're trying to navigate, a new reality where they are leading. Things are peaceful in the world, and they're trying to perpetuate that as much as possible. And so like I think that's rife territory for some really interesting things that happen, but I actually think that the story doesn't go there. In a way, like I think the story is like much more about Aang himself and dealing with his past trauma of being the last survivor of the Airbenders, which I think in some ways, yeah, sure, it's relevant to being adult, but also not, right? Like he could have also had these very same feelings and interactions in the original series too. You could definitely see that. And so I think like his maturity, maybe not as big a part of the story.
Yeah, I felt like they did kind of explore that in the original animated series. So I'm wondering if perhaps that was
Yes, I did too.
perhaps this was like well-tread ground, but I also think it's like it sort of worked for me in the sense that, of course, like you would still like at this stage of your life, you would also still be missing like the actual connection you had to community, right? You start thinking about more things like that, like where's my place in this? Where are my people? And it being very obvious when you're in Republic City or when you're doing these things that like, wait, I don't have a people to be part of this community with, right? Like, and yes, I have my found family, but they can't teach me the ways of my culture, right? Like I can try and teach them what I remember, but it's different when you're not also being mentored by elders. You're not being, around the other people and seeing like where this could go for your people as well. So
Yeah,
I
pretty
think
quickly in the movie, like we realized that Aang never had an airbending master in the original series. Or
he was considered a master, but
yeah, but clearly had lots to learn.
Yeah.
I mean, being a master and being knowledgeable in your culture are two very different things. Like, I think this was something that it touched on. Like, it's not just about Aang being a powerful airbender. It's about culture and tradition that, frankly, don't have even that don't even necessarily have anything to do with being strong. Just knowing your history.
Yeah.
Like, it's a very relatable thing of just wanting to know more about your history and culture, especially when you cut off from it. It's a pretty relatable thing.
Superman does that. He has to go back to the Fortress of Solitude and kind of he wants to know more about Krypton and stuff. So
yeah, I mean,
makes
for
sense.
him it's tricky because it's a shitty legacy compared to maybe one that Aang wants to embrace. But yeah, either way, the theme of wanting to embrace your roots is a very relatable thing. What I will say with the adulthood thing, and to be clear, this isn't a bad thing because I actually like what the story decided to focus on, but this is not a story about adulthood. The adulthood is just incidental in terms of just time that has passed in the story. This story could still work really regardless of what age the characters are, which is fine. Like, that's not a bad thing necessarily, but you shouldn't watch this. Like, this is fun to see them as adults visually, but this isn't like Legend of Korra exploring like Aang's relationship with his kids.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's not going to be Korra where it's like, oh, Aang, you favored Tenzin because he was the airbending kid, and then we felt some kind of way, which is like, that's dope drama. That's just not what this is about. This is more of Aang's cultural heritage. He just happens to be an adult when it's happening, and he's had time to maybe take a breath now that the war is over. He can think about stuff that maybe before he can't really think about because the urgency of the plot didn't really give him a chance to do that.
That's
in
fair.
that sense, I do like it because Airbender, he was, to your point, y'all did say he did kind of reckon with a lot of this stuff already, but it was in a plot that was like there's just a more pertinent issue at play right now, so it's kind of hard for Aang to reflect on that too deeply because it's like, hey, dude, get your head out the clouds. The Fire Lord is about to like F everything up. So I do appreciate
Comet.
I do appreciate the timing of the war's over. There's no world-ending threat anymore. Now Aang can be a little more introspective, and this is how it shows up, even though he did work through some of it in the main show. So,
all right, one thing I want to get into that isn't a spoiler, but I think will allow us to talk about details is the artwork, the animation, the visuals. Savon, what was your sort of reaction to seeing this? Because it is a little bit different than the original Avatar.
I mean, the art style was beautiful. Like,
yeah,
this felt like this was like this is what it's like anything where you have the TV show, which TV shows with a good budget will be well animated, but obviously even in the original series, they had their budget cut moments, where they have the whole don't show the characters. They had the invincible moments of don't show the character's mouth moving. Like Avatar, the original series had a lot of moments like that, which is fine. You got
it's okay. It's a Nickelodeon show.
I mean, it's any show. Shows don't have infinite money, as it turns out. That's fine.
Except the Game of Thrones shows.
They got budget too. Same shit be happening. We talk about budget, but for this show or for this movie, they just went. This is what happens when you have an animated movie. They don't have to do a whole season of shit, so they just say, "Hey, man, we're gonna full send it for this next hour and a half, 2 hours," and it's one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a hot little minute. My first thought was, "Damn it, I would kill to be in a movie right now." That was my first impression when the movie first started. I was like, wow.
He admits it, Brian.
This would be so dope with like some bass and on a big screen. Because I'm watching it on my TV in the dark. I'm like, man, this is beautiful. But yeah,
Savon,
this was some cinematic shit.
I mean, I hate to disappoint you on that note, but like on a big screen, it was so good. You missed out. You missed out.
Awesome. It looked awesome.
Holy crap! Oh
but
my
like,
god!
But it was like, so it was a good mix of all the things you like. You know, it was the Avatar style of anime inspired with some Western bits thrown in, but you still get the characters making the exaggerated facial expressions and the little like visual, like they still do the visual gags where when Sokka gets angry, his face turns red and his eyes get all cartoony. They still had the beautifully like painted backgrounds, and the cinematography was dope. Some folks might have mixed feelings about this, but I enjoyed that they had multiple moments where they would zoom out to give a sense of scale to show just how big shit was happening. Like they did it a few times. I liked it. I thought it was a cool stylistic choice. It's still Avatar, so the art design and actual like, you know, just not even just like the animation, but the artwork itself is phenomenal. Like I said before, there's always lots of just inspirations from all Asian cultures, you know, like a very wide net. And we got to see just the Fire Lord's palace and these new islands. And it was a movie where every scene,
there's like a temple. There's a temple that's beautiful.
The temples are different and beautiful too, and they have different aesthetics. And it was just, this movie was just such a visual treat that several points where I rewinded. I'm like, okay, I just want to take this shit in because this is genuine eye candy. So I have zero issues with the animation. It was one of the most beautiful things I've seen in a hot minute, and creatively put together too. Not just good animation, but like actual good artwork, good colors, good designs. It was great.
I second everything you said. I think the
whimsical,
it didn't feel like this wasn't a world of Avatar. It still felt cohesive. Like this is part of the Avatar world. It just felt like, wow, we're just seeing it in like 4K now. You know, you're like, oh, we get to see all the details. And like, there is an airbending character in the movie, and his tattoos are way more intricate. And there's two airbending characters, and both of them have like way more intricate tattoo designs. I think that's something you can do a little bit easier in a movie where you're not having to animate 40,000, frames in a year, right? The plain arrow is much easier to animate, I'm sure. But yeah, it was phenomenal to look at. I mean, I think one of the things I noticed right away was you're getting details in the eyes. You're seeing like the pupils and the irises just like kind of light up in a way that you didn't get seen. There's more detail in them. And then I thought the action scenes were incredible. Like the fight scenes and the way that they choreographed them were dialed up, like 3 notches from the original series. I don't know how it compares to Legend of Korra. I can't actually remember how those were, but this felt like there was a heft to like the attacks and the action scenes. There was like speed to everything, and almost to the point where actually one of my criticisms of the action scenes are sometimes I had a slight hard time following like where things were going because everybody was just like moving so fast, or like they were smash cutting from like, from the big ship to the little ship and and I sort of lost track of things a little bit, but that would be like a small minor critique. You could tell what was happening overall in the story, but there's a few moments where that was happening, and that was the only thing. I mean, everything else was just like, damn, this is amazing. They did like a K-pop Demon Hunters gag with Sokka where he's kind of shown in different like artwork styles. I mean, just like visually, I was just like, this is amazing. Like, if for nothing else, if the story is bad or whatever, the story wasn't bad, but if the story was bad, I'd be like, I'm so glad I watched this. So yeah, that's where I kind of landed on it.
Definitely epic in scale, right? It like every time they arrived at a new location, whether it was the islands or an air temple or even Republic City, right? You got that feeling of like maybe like the first time you saw Lord of the Rings and they showed Rivendell, or like the first time in Star Wars, they showed
it's the Star Destroyer.
Yeah, the Star Destroyer or Coruscant or something for the first time, right? And you're just like, wow, this is so crazy and massive and beautiful and gorgeously designed. And then to your point, right? Like all the action sequences match that level of grandiosity, right? Like when you say that it was dialed up times 3, maybe it's like dialed up like times 3,000. Really, what the action sequences were almost like less Avatar and more like top tier anime. They're more like
It felt way
Jujutsu
more
Kaisen
anime.
or whatever, or or some of the more recent anime that have come out at the movie level, right? Like not even at the series level, at the movie level is like on par with all of those, where all the action is like really in your face. It's fast. It's wild. It coming like the camera is moving all over the place. But like also the choreography that's going into those fights is also really interesting and intricate, and very very detailed. The way Taga moves versus the way Aang moves versus the way the denied move, like all of that is really really carefully crafted, and spectacular each and every time. And like there are a lot of fights in this movie. Like I want to say that there's almost like as much action as there is dialogue, or maybe even more action than there's dialogue. Like usually movies hold off on doing all the action scenes, right? Because they are so expensive and you can only have like 2 big ones, maybe 1 big one and a few small ones, right? This felt like there was one every 10 minutes or something like that.
I don't think it was that often, but yeah.
It kind of like felt that way though, right?
It felt that
because
way.
of how impactful, or just like how amazing each one of those fights went down.
Well,
yeah.
Well, a lot of the action scenes I felt also did a good job of driving the plot forward, so you're getting a little bit of both wrapped up, right? So I guess we'll get more into this, but there's a sequence where an airship is involved in a storm, and that sequence is equal parts chase, equal parts fight, equal parts we're learning a bit about the characters' motivations and mindsets and what's actually important to them, right? We get to see the gang flexing themselves. We get a cool Aang Taga moment, and we get some hints about some later happenings in the plot based on the characters' interactions. And like at surface value, that's just a really dope fight scene for everyone to do cool bending shit. But also,
It had a purpose, right?
There's purpose, tension. It advanced the plot. Brian, to your point, even when Aang, I'm going to count Aang climbing the mountain as an action sequence. It's not a fight,
definitely.
but
him releasing Taga is a big action sequence.
Yeah, it's him against nature, right? Like they showed the Avatar trying to climb a mountain, and I was sold on how hard that shit had to be. Because yes, the Avatar's super powerful, yes, but they're not a god, and clearly this must have been a really pain in the ass place to even get to or be at. If even the Avatar is working his ass, like there was a shot where he's clearly lining up a jump, and he uses his earthbending to shoot himself up to do like a damn near rock climbing style ledge hang. And I'm like, yeah, it's the Avatar. You might think, oh, he could just fly. But it's like, no, man, it's like, it was just
too windy to fly.
It's too, like, it's one of those, to your point, I love when a movie can let the action sequences not just be visual eye candy, but also storytelling. Aang's overexerted. He's tired. He's got a lot going on. It showed, and it reflected in his whole, he's in a kind of a hopeless place, which makes sense of how he reacts when he actually does find what he finds at the top of the mountain. So there's a lot of action, Brian. I don't think there's as many fight scenes as you said, but I think it's more of
action. Action.
No, but what I'm saying is that what I'm saying, but I'm agreeing with you in that the action also advances the plot meaningfully, and I think that's why it stood out maybe so extra to you, is because it's not just shit happening. It's shit happening that is still advancing the story and moving the plot, which is not always an easy thing to do.
All right. This is mostly going to be the end of our spoilers-y free. We wanted to give a little chance here for people to kind of smell out, what this is about, feel out what the movie was about, how we felt about it kind of in general. The next part will be spoilers full, not free, spoilers full. So we will discuss the plot. We'll discuss all the characters and what happened, what we liked about it. Did you want to do a quick 15-second sell on why somebody should just go watch it right now on Paramount Plus, bite the bullet, pay the $8, and then come back, Brian?
I mean, if you like anything Avatar, go watch this.
Yeah, like, what are you waiting for?
Yeah. I second it. It was
If you'll
good.
pay to watch Netflix and watch the live action show, you don't have a good reason to not watch the Paramount show and all the original series shit. That's kind of where I'm at with it. Like, even if you buy Paramount and cancel it, it's still a better value than if that's still worth your money.
Yeah, I mean, I enjoyed this more than I enjoyed the live action Avatar show, even though
it's not saying much.
It's not, but I do kind of enjoy the Netflix one.
It's wild that you say you don't have any big emotional connection or all this attachment to the series, and then you seem to really have a soft spot for this live action show. And I don't know where the hell you stand.
I don't know. All right, let's get into it. You have been warned, and hopefully you have gone and seen this movie. It was awesome. All right, let's get into it. So, the actual story. How did you feel about the plot? Did it feel like a natural continuation of the series? Or, yeah, I mean, in some ways, it's kind of adventure of the week, and in some ways, it's not. I don't know how you felt about that. In some ways, I wish, like, if you're going to do this movie that we haven't been with Avatar or with Aang in quite some time. In some ways, I wish they would have told maybe a more, I don't know, like more embedded story, like in where he's at in his life. But at the same time, I think this story like stands alone as like, this is a great adventure story, right? Like this is from start to finish. There's this aspect of, I don't know, betrayal, but also wanting, right? Like self-delusion and then self-realization that needs to come from it. And like, those are all great things for like coming of age stories that we see here. I don't know, Brian, how did you feel about like the story overall and the story that they wanted to tell is their first story coming back from a pretty long hiatus?
I mean, I agree with you, right? It's like it's a mixed bag, right? The main story of Avatar was told in well, they're not tight, but three seasons that had a clear beginning, middle,
but they're cohesive,
end, right?
Yeah.
They like when they created those, they had the end in mind, right? I'm just gonna end with, the Emperor of the Fire Nation losing his bending, right? And
Get the WinCon episode 1.
Aang making that big decision about, he's not going to kill him, but he took away his bending. And so that story really concluded. And then you have Legend of Korra on the other side of it, right? Where Korra is living in a world that has benefited from Aang being the Avatar for decades, and bringing peace to the world. And then so all the other stories that have come out from the Aang gang, if you will, like in the comics, basically the comics, I think that's the only place, like they sort of feel like side quests in a way, because they are not part of that main story that already happened. And I think that is also true here in the movie, where like we already know what the future is for all these characters. We know where it ends up. And I don't think that this movie tells us anything really new about Aang. And let's face it, like the Aang gang, Toph, Katara, Sokka, Zuko, all of them are kind of just side players in this. Like their stories aren't really explored in this movie. And so we're not really advancing anything new about Aang's journey really here. And so it feels a little bit kind of tangential. But that said, the story that he does go on, right, meeting another airbender, basically meeting a mirror version of who he could be, is really interesting, right? And like Taga is a great character, and we also get to meet a new avatar that we've never met, whose name I'm forgetting right now. Sonam, who is lost. When Aang was like trying to connect with this
does her
avatar.
best Luke Skywalker. Disappears from the Force, basically, right?
She's like out there in the spirit world or something. I don't even understand how she is not found in the lineage. And so
she didn't
like,
want to be found, right?
You get all these like new things which are cool to see. And great for great for like some character exploration. But at the same time, I do feel like the original series had also dealt with the same character development, right? Like we have sort of, we already know that Aang was like dealing with the issues of being the last Airbender, right? It's called the Last Airbender for that reason. And part of me wishes like they explored new territory in his story, or if they really did take on the adulthood theme more so, and like ask questions about maturity, ask questions about leading, about governing, like but the movie kind of like sidesteps all of that and takes us on a really huge, colorful, fun, action-filled adventure instead.
Mm-hmm.
Savon, you're dying to
so-
get in here.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying? I got some feelings with this.
Counterpoints.
Well, let's counterpoint more. One, it's very clear this is Aang's movie. The gang is here. This is Aang's movie. Once I realized that, I think that helped temper my expectations of like, oh, what am I expecting from the rest of the cast? Quickly, I realized, oh, this is the Aang movie. Okay, cool. Let me adjust my expectations because, to your point, it's a movie. They only got so much time to tell this story. They said, okay, this is Aang's story. The gang's here because they're his friends and they're going to help advance shit, but like, you're not going to get development from them. So I wasn't really expecting that because it's a TV show that spent episodes upon episodes to develop people with side quests. A movie only has so much time, and they clearly said this is what they want. I can respect that. And at first, I felt too like, oh, this feels like kind of retread territory. But upon reflecting more on the story, I actually think it's about Aang redefining and reaffirming what his community and culture and world actually looks like. He, in this movie, has a more narrow definition of just airbenders, only people who are part of his culture, almost a little bit of what Taga did of that kind of borderline xenophobic mentality, including a line where he even tells the gang, no, y'all don't understand. Like, they're empathizing with him, but he clearly is a certain level of like, no one can clearly understand what I'm going through, that even his empathetic friends who he's been through all this shit with, he feels like y'all can't quite relate.
Sad boy Aang.
Yeah, I'm saying all that to say, I actually do think that was a good depth to the movie that the show didn't touch on, which was, okay, your people are gone, but who actually are your people? How do you define that? What does that mean to you? Is it just Taga because y'all have a shared history, or is it, and the show, and Qatar even gives a dope speech about like it's Aang's values, and that's what makes him great, and that's what saved the world. And I think the message of the film ends up being that like I like the messaging at the end of, oh, Aang's lesson from this is the air acolytes. It's my culture, I might be the last airbender, but our culture and our way of life can live on. And I actually think that was a really good lesson for the movie, The Linchpin, that was it added on to just, oh, he's sad about being the last airbender. And kind of like I said before, in the original series, he didn't really have time to truly reflect on it because the story had a very clear, like, yo, we're on a time limit, you have a job to do. But I thought this story worked of the dust has settled, he can reflect a little bit. His big issue is that he's at the temples alone. Katara even calls out, hey man, you at them temples a lot by yourself. So here's a bit of that cultural disconnect. And I think once I was able to kind of zoom out after the movie and take it in that way, I felt better about the story. And I liked the lesson that he took away from it. That being said, I still would have liked to have seen more of also adding in the challenges of adulthood and maturity that could have easily have been a part of this same lesson. Like, I don't think them adding that would have taken away from anything that they were trying to do for this story. So that feels like a little bit of a missed opportunity.
I think it could have amplified it, right? Like, Qatar and Aang are clearly like in a relationship, but he's often gone, right? And that creates like some really obvious, or not really obvious, like really inherent conflicts to their relationship or to their tension in their relationship, that like Katara wants to support him and Aang is a little bit like self-absorbed, self-consumed with going to the temples and trying to figure out like how he can bring his history back and find his history, right? And you know, in some ways he's sacrificing his relationship with his friends in order to do so.
Well, the airship sequence, right? Like the entire airship sequence, and that's what I said before, of like the fights and sequences telling a story. we get to see the gang still operate like a literal well-oiled machine and problem solve in a way that's like, yeah, man, Togger's right, trusting your friend's strength.
Yeah.
We also see that
They
like
do it without him.
they did it without, but also everyone's pissed because like, yo, man, information was withheld. We're supposed to be a team. Everyone is like, yo, let's get the F out of here. And Aang is just like, no. Like, Aang is being blatantly selfish and inconsiderate of his friends and safety, even though they all were like being some real ride or dies. Like, as someone who's not even the biggest Aang fan, I actually really like.
They didn't call him out enough for that either, right? I mean, they did call him out, but
I mean, they called him out. I mean, they called him out, but it's like it's an empathy thing of like we understand why, and it's complicated, right? Like that's what makes it. There's no right answer. It's just there's a tension. They work through the tension, but it's there. But you know, as someone who's not even the biggest fan of Aang and the main story, I like that. I like the conflict that they gave him and made it very believable. And to your point, Brian, of Togger being a really good character, he was a very good foil and mirror to Aang that they made that the clear emotional focus of the movie. And I think that's fine. Aang's had lots of emotional development with his friends and lovers and shit. Have this new character to keep shit juicy and good.
He was so excited and enthralled by his new airbender friend. He was like, oh, who is this guy? I want to be like him. He got big muscles. He was like...
He taught him a new technique that only two airbenders can do together.
The
and that was so
technique,
cool.
That was amazing. And they're like taking out tornadoes. I mean, Wes, I could see...
You get why he did what he did.
I could see it right now. Like... Jen is mad at you because you met your new biking friend and now you're just biking with your buddy all the time. And it's just like, who's going to hang out with these children, Wesley? You're like, but I got to learn the biking goodness from this dude. That's so cool. That is exactly what happened. Very relatable.
While Aang was in a low place, while he was in a particularly low place.
You go to dance practice, Brian.
I mean, like, this was territory they could have explored more. Like, maybe Katara should have been preggers during this whole movie.
Ooh.
Maybe she was.
Well, here's the good thing: her intuition ended up being 100% right, which I also liked. Of like, hey, Katara cares for Aang, and I do like that. Hey, in West, and I talked about this in the pre-show. They gave a bunch of hints that Togger's not to be trusted. Like, they did a very good job of peppering in, like, hey, why is he on this mysterious mountain in the first place? I think someone called out, hey, this mountain was... we saw the Avatar struggle to get there. Why was he still there? When he comes up to Earth, he sees Toph and it's like, Earthbender, and he's about to freak out for a sec. He called Katara, like, a waterbending girl and a real talk down. Like, there's a bunch of little hints of, like, huh. All right,
this
now
guy's a racist.
Like he's clearly like his xenophobic tendencies show themselves. Like there's hints of it from the very beginning of him not to be, you know, the hints. And we clearly see when he tries to kill the airship. Oh, he's not a defining trait of every airbender we've seen is that they are pacifists. They are not go for the neck type. So in this man's first move is
crush the ship, kill everybody on board.
I thought he was going to incapacitate. Oh, he going to incapacitate the ship, and it's like, oh no, he just said, no, I'm going to kill y'all. But it was
that was the moment where I was like, oh, okay, we should not trust his motivations here at all. Something's amiss.
For me, it was the Earthbender thing. I was like, oh, you just don't trust Earthbender? I'm like, all right, man, we need you to keep that under wraps. Like, you see Aang got this multicultural friend group, and you don't seem to be rocking with how we got this. How can you stand to be around the Fire Lord? I'm like, oh boy, hey man, that was the previous administration. Like we don't know them people.
Well, that's when it comes out. I mean, I think right after he talks about him being the Fire Lord, Aang is like, oh, you're really like traumatized by something here, and like you're not down with the plan that we have. And Togger realizes Aang is not going to be on board with his plan, and that's when they start dueling it out.
And Togger was always on some shiesty shit. He clearly knew from the bounds. When Aang said he ran, I was like, I feel like Togger is not going to let that go. reasonable thing to not let go. But I was like, So he says he just ran. I was like, all right. I feel like you feel like he's being understanding. I feel like he's more pissed about that than he's letting on. He said, so it's just us two because you ran? All right, bet. Yeah, man, shit happens.
Yeah.
But I want to say I like the like it was still a very simple story, but like, you know, But also, and this is like a mini aside, like I would have liked for them to talk about more of the politics, leadership stuff that comes with it, but also like that's a different type of movie, especially for Avatar. That's more about the action adventure. And the comics and books go into that. So, like, if you really want to know the politics of building Republic City and the colonies and all that, and like they explore it. So maybe this was just the writers also saying, hey, man, what's a story we actually haven't touched on in any of our media before? It's fine for what's meant to be a 2-hour movie. I think
I think so. I think it
pick.
might have been
Much more would have been
really
like,
hard.
oh, we need like more movies. Like I understand that Avatar, we're used to something that maybe takes a little more ground to cover. You got 2 hours. I think they picked a story that was good enough to resolve in like the constraints of a movie format.
I actually think
I'll just say that Taga's
go ahead.
airbending was amazing, and it was like, whoa, Aang is this master airbender and the best airbender we've ever seen, right? Because he's mostly the only airbender we've ever seen. And then Taga is just like wiping the floor with him in their first battle. It's like, oh crap, like you you are coming up against master levels of airbending here. And then towards the end, Taga uses some kind of move to like use his airbending to like pierce through the Aang gang, and it's
Air
like,
bullet.
oh man, like we are using
like a
air
drill.
lethally here.
Yeah.
It's a railgun. He did like a railgun shot. I was like,
Yeah.
it's like what from Dragon Ball Z? He did a special beam cannon. He did the Piccolo.
It takes him out of it takes Aang out of his like kind of elevated avatar
It
state.
killed him.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and knocks him on his ass.
Taga
Well,
killed
no,
all
killed
of them.
him.
I don't think
He
it killed him.
all of them.
He killed them. They say died. Aang was like life support, but then the others they was cooked.
There is
Well, I thought they were just within inches of death, and somehow Katara saved them.
Maybe
not that they
Katara-
had actually
well,
died.
it's because
The
they were
spirit-
on the
the water
lion
from the
turtle
lion
islands.
turtles.
Correct. Yeah. And
So
so,
it
that
was-
amplified her powers to like heal them, but I didn't take it to mean they had actually crossed over into death. But maybe it is a little.
They
unclear.
straight up said they died.
Yeah.
They said it.
There is
They made it very clear. They said we died.
Oh, okay.
There's
Oh,
also an animatic that is floating on the internet out there from one of the animators that worked on the movie.
What's an
of-
animatic?
An animatic is like a roughed out version of how the scene is supposed to go.
Oh, okay,
right.
okay.
So it's like really like poorly animated, but you
So
get
like a
the gist.
storyboard.
Yeah, kind of
first
a
draft kind of
moving
thing.
a moving storyboard.
Okay.
And so he shared this animatic of how the fight was supposed to go between Taga and the Aang gang, and it is very clear in this that he kills each one of them individually, and they show like each death like one by one, and it's pretty brutal. And I understand why they took it out. Like it's like too much, right?
Yeah.
It'd just be like, what the hell?
Your
What the
favorite
hell are you
characters getting
doing with
brutalized?
everything that all these fans love? Like that's beyond what the Avatar series is about. But I am glad that they showed a different type of airbender. And it makes you realize that the only airbenders that we've seen really are Aang and his son Tenzin, right? And they practice a different type of airbending, which is like, be with the wind, like avoid attacks, and like very, very much in a pacifist lane. Like you disarm people, you're not really on the offensive as much. And that's the whole thing that Korra had such a difficult time learning, because she was very aggressive and couldn't get behind that kind of mindset. But we realize in this movie, right, like that type of airbending isn't the only type of airbending. That is
Like
just
Zahir, too.
Aang's brand of airbending. Right, exactly. Like Zahir unlocked a totally different version of airbending. And Taga and Zahir are very much alike, I think, which is another like retread kind of thing going on in this movie. But Taga is obviously like going to a whole different extreme where, he's using air to snuff people out, and that's a crazy thing. It makes you realize like, oh yeah, that's right. Like tornadoes are a dangerous thing out there. And this guy has harnessed that power.
Mm-hmm. And unlike Zahir, who was like a prodigy who got bending, and we see in Korra, right? Like, he's a prodigious fighter, which is why he's such a good airbender. But they clearly established Tenzin is stronger than him because Tenzin still just practiced the old-fashioned way, and he's better, even though Zahir is a natural. This is different because this guy's a master, and he's about that killing life. Zahir was, dangerous, but not a master in terms of years, lifetime of practice. But this was like, oh, this dude has experience, is a warrior, has been, as we learned through his backstory, he's a soldier. He's been through like them trenches. And also, I don't know if y'all caught this detail, because the first thought I had was, oh, how is he so strong? But then they kind of established, oh, the staff, him connecting with the staff the first time is why he's so much more powerful. So it's not just, it gave a solid rationale of, okay, why can he just like solo the gang? Because at first I was like, how can he solo them? When they establish, okay, the staff gives you like a pop, basically a crazy power up, I'm like, all right, I find that acceptable. Okay. But I'm glad that they punched it home with him killing the gang. Like, that was the real, like, I think they needed to do that to really punch home him being a threat, and it landed well for me of like, that didn't look like a knockout blow. And he's established that he like, I hope he didn't just conveniently knock out the main characters because, oh, whatever. Like, oh, no, he
plot
really
armor. I mean, it turned out being plot armor at the end.
Yeah, but like, we already established all kinds of wild shit you could do that was different because of the island that they were on. So like, I'm like, you know what? We're in a place where the rules are a little different, and it's all this spirit energy, and they established it. I find that acceptable. People been getting brought back from death in this show all the time. There's a spirit world. Really good healing water is the least of my concerns. What I wanted to talk about though. Well, sorry, Wes. You have
go ahead.
Keep facilitating.
Go ahead.
I want to talk about aside. I really liked just Avatar Sana's design, the whole design of her world, her temple, the backstory.
South Asian Avatar.
Mm-hmm. Her design,
she was a
amazing. I just said the design's awesome. But even like the stuff but even just like Taga's backstory and learning how things went, I thought that little slice of life, that backstory and why he's the way he is, really elevated Taga from a very villain of the weak character to like, oh, everything he does, you understand why he does it, and it like makes perfect sense. He's wrong, but never is it like, oh man, why would somebody do this? The idea of being a devout follower and having your faith crushed in a world, and them to, even
and being rejected by the person you held in such high esteem.
Yeah, even the idea of just the airbenders being like peacekeepers around the world is a cool little lore drop of, oh, okay, so they were fewest in number, but they just would traveling around almost on some Jedi type shit. That was like a really cool. That was just a really dope piece of world building for the story that I was.
But unwanted Jedi,
digging.
Sadly.
Yes, but it seemed like it was wanted up until the Earth Kingdom was like, all right, we doing our own thing, and then that whole Jedi peacekeeping shit, homie got turned to the dark side. He was like, oh man, we got it. It was a literal dark side turn. But like that sequence, that backstory, how it was animated, I thought it was all phenomenal. And I really thought this movie did a good job of really diving into like how avatars can utilize their previous lives to get information. Like the idea of Roku sending him on a goose chase, and just the
go further back.
Yeah, I even thought it was a cool idea of like, yeah, I guess it will make sense that some avatars are harder to access than others because of spiritual whatever. Like I thought that was a cool premise. I like the idea of an avatar who's just an effing librarian energy, and they're still clearly a master bender, but they look nothing like what you would expect an avatar to be. But any sequence where you can just show me dozens of just avatar designs and it's just random Asian person, pick a age, style, whatever, and they have fun with it. Like I love that kind of shit. It's like the little things that build out the world that I'm like, man, we can have avatar shit until the sun explodes because we can just go back, pick a person, pick an element, and let's get to work.
I mean, I was really hoping that Aang was gonna meet the first Avatar Wan, because we were at the Lion Turtle Islands. I was like, oh no, is that what's gonna happen? We're gonna meet him. Disappointing that didn't happen. But I do have a question.
A little retread.
It definitely would be a retread.
It would have. It might be. That's one of those. We want to retread that
the
again.
The thing with Sonam though, like I didn't fully understand why she went missing. Like, and
really?
I also didn't fully understand the staff too. It just felt like she's got a magical staff, and the staff does what when it locks into the temple, her temple that was in the spirit world. Did you guys have a good handle on like what, like how she disappeared from all of the other avatars?
I understood that part, I think.
So
what I understood, and maybe this is not what you're looking for. I understood it as she was sort of scared about like the power that she had harnessed, and was sort of ashamed at the way that people tried to use the staff, and the fact that like she had thought this was a good idea, and then had realized, wait, I had made a huge mistake. And so she sort of hid herself from the force. She hid herself away because, one, she didn't want anybody to be able to use the staff for clearly the way that people were going to use it, right, in a negative way. And then I think she also felt like, I'm ashamed to be in this lineage of avatars who are supposed to be protectors of the world, and I actually put the world in really grave danger through my own selfishness and my own hubris. And I think she also admitted, like, I at the end, I think she had admitted, like, I didn't have the strength to destroy the staff. Like, it had sort of like enticed me into it, and like to preserving it as like, maybe this thing will be useful later on down the line. And she had sort of convinced herself that, like, maybe in the hands of the right person, so like I'll preserve it for that purpose. And I think once she sees that Aang destroys it, I think she sees it like, actually, like, I had made the wrong choices here. And yeah, I don't know. That's how I took it. I didn't know if you were looking for more in terms of how, like, why she hid herself. But I took it as her shame, as like, same as Luke, like, I need to close myself off from the Force because I've made mistakes and I don't trust myself now to be part of this lineage.
I love the way that you're explaining it. It's like, I want a Sonam series now. Like, I wish that thread was like more developed and more apparent in the movie.
That's how I interpret it. I didn't feel like I had to fill in any gaps. I thought that's what she kind of was saying, but maybe Savon has a different take.
No, I got a very similar take of like immensely, they established that avatars can be immensely powerful. Some are better at different shit than others. All of them have feats that are like, some people just be doing some fire shit. She was clearly an extremely powerful spiritual avatar. We know from the series that the spirit world is a key part of what grants people bending. So the idea of a staff that can channel it isn't the most out there thing. But I think it's one of those almost Jurassic Park of like, or almost One Ring type of like, okay, it's powerful, but is this too powerful for us to even, is it so powerful that it causes more problems than it fixes? And I think that's Aang's
and
big
we got
thing,
the answer.
Obviously.
Yeah,
and Aang's alter, and obviously that's the part of Aang's character of like, okay, what does it mean for my people to survive? Is it just people airbending, or is it the values and culture that I carry on that blah, blah, blah? And clearly we see the lesson: destroy the staff, establish the acolytes. But to your point, I thought Avatar Sonam was awesome for the role she played in the story. At first, I was iffy about the idea of a missing avatar. I was like, all right, but I thought they played it. I thought they played it very well.
You didn't like that idea? I thought that was cool.
Not that I didn't like it. It was just one of those.
Why is she not in the lineage?
It was just one of those. I hope there's a good explanation for why, when avatars have been around for so many generations, and I was sold on the explanation of an avatar who was immensely powerful felt deep shame. Avatars being cut off from the spirit world because of shame and trauma is a deeply established thing. So it's not like they were making up new bullshit. So I was just skeptical, and they proved me wrong. But between the design, the visuals, the really establishing this was the past and the world was different, I would kill for an Avatar Sonam series. I would absolutely. I want more of this character. She seems really awesome. I thought she'd be like an evil avatar who did something wrong, but I thought the twist of it being her devout follower who betrayed her was a really cool. It wasn't the outcome I expected. I didn't trust him, but I didn't trust Avatar Sonam either.
Yeah, I thought she felt like a Zelda character.
Oh, she's designed like the.
I mean, she's very Indra, almost like what, like almost. Am I off base on that?
She's designed like the Gerudo, the desert people in.
Yes,
The Legend of Zelda. Or in like the latest versions of Zelda. Yeah.
Yeah. All right, let's wrap it up. I kind of want to talk about the ending, but I feel like we got to wrap up here.
Say your piece about the ending. Make it quick.
I love that like the ending forced Aang to have to choose. That like if you keep the staff, you could potentially bring back airbending and grant it to people so that they could learn what you like from you. Like you could share your knowledge with other people and like how and bring it back to the world, right, as a force for good. It could give him a sense of belonging. I like that the staff was corrupting him in real time, and you weren't sure if he was going to be able to withstand it, right? Without the help of somebody else. Maybe Korra would have had to step in, or maybe something would have happened, right, that like broke him, something like that. And it ended up being that the problem or the solution was he had to make the hardest choice, to give up not any hope, but to give up the like hope in the moment, at least, that he could bring airbending to others so that they could experience what he experiences and that he could teach them what he knows. And instead he has to sacrifice for the good of the world and give up that part of himself, or give up that part of his dream and how he hoped the world would be. And I thought that's just like, that is an adult choice that Aang's been making for his whole life, right? He's had to make hard choices like that before. But this, I mean, within this story, just start to finish in this story, that he had to give up the thing that he wanted most, or that they established that he wanted most, in order for him to save the world. And it came at great sacrifice. So I like that, like, we get a story like that where it's, it's an adult choice that he's having to make.
I would argue this is the only adult choice Aang had to make in both series. Like, I would argue that Aang didn't have to make any sacrifices in the main show. His main conflict was that he wanted to end the war vegan, and he ended up kind of getting bailed out at the end by the lion turtles and him hitting his back. And like, Aang never really had to make a sacrifice in the main series. I think Aang having to destroy the staff actually was a really good character defining put your big boy pants on moment where, and to your point, Wes, he didn't get bailed out by his friends reminding him who he was. He had to remind himself who he was and make that sacrifice. I thought that was a really good ending to underscore our point from before. Man, if they had thrown in slightly more themes of having to grow up and make the adult decision, that would have really hammered that home. But this movie wasn't about adulthood. It was about culture and family and belonging. And that's what they decided to make it be about, which I can respect that.
For sure.
I can respect that. But again, there's always going to be the missed opportunity of, they're grown adults. I would love to see them deal with grown adult problems. You get hints of it in Korra with Toph being a bad mom and Aang being a questionable dad, but not with them as like the focus rather than through their children. Yeah. Alas, there's also lots of Avatar we can get, so maybe we'll get more of that.
This movie like kind of arrives at Aang's final decision kind of quickly. I would have loved if it had more of a progression, but I do really like where they landed, right? Like this idea of airbending existing through its values, its principles, its way of life, rather than through people that do airbending, right? I think is a really great idea.
It's a really good message. That's a great message.
And it is the thing that you want to walk away from. And I think it's probably rooted in, like, you think about Tibetan monks, like that. I think that is the route that they have chosen as well, right? Like they're an endangered culture and have turned outward to spread it across the world. And I think that's where Aang ends up. And is just a great idea.
I was gonna say, just like the Jesuits.
It's a beautiful thing.
All right, let's wrap up there. Ratings. I feel like I'm at I don't even know. I say 4 out of 5. I enjoyed it. It was beautiful. It's I wish maybe they told a slightly different story, but that's just me, and I didn't make the show, so like, for what the story they told, I enjoyed it. It was worth watching. Brian.
I think this was really like a proof of concept for the new Avatar studio to show what they could do with a movie budget. And they went like gangbusters with it on all the action, just like all the colorfulness. Was it the story that I wanted them to tell? No. Did it feel like they kind of like rehashed a lot of the same ideas? Yeah, from that we've seen in Korra and in the original series. Did it feel like a side quest? Like kind of. But still, like, what a effing good ride, right? Like, still, like, it just proves like there's so much more so many more Avatar stories that can be told, and in a grandiose way. And I think like these creators and this story and these characters are more than deserving of all of that. So like, please give me lots more. But in the end, I'm giving this a 77 out of 100.
Okay.
Air Bison.
Really, 77 out of 100 is wild. That's a C.
Why is that wild?
It's very
that is a
You thought
good
this
mark.
was
That
you
is
thought this is a
solid
C movie?
That's
solid
good for
mark.
Metacritic. Yeah, that's good for Metacritic.
I don't know what people say. I guess I'm still looking at it from academic. That's a C. I wouldn't bring home to my mom. Yeah, I got a 77 out of 100. I'd just say, yeah, it was cool. I didn't fail. But
They
nah,
didn't
stand
fail.
on-
They
No,
completely
this was
passed
better
this
than not
test.
failing. Yeah. All right, Savon, what are you
this-
rating it? Let's get out of here.
I give it an A. It was good. No real, like, I could guess A- if I'm being nitpicky, but any complaints I have are mostly because of the constraints of it being a movie and the source material had room for side quests. So I give them but to Brian's point, proof of concept, man. They can do their jobs well. I want more.
If you had to predict, is Tony gonna like it? You said she hasn't seen it yet.
She'll enjoy this.
She'll enjoy it. Okay. All right.
Of all the people I know, why she's not a miserable sod like a lot of folks who don't know how to enjoy things they watch. She's gonna enjoy this.
I mean, the Avatar world is very earnest. It's not a cynical world.
Which is
All right,
part of
friends.
why I love it.
Yeah.
Have you
Yeah.
guys played the
That's
Avatar
interesting. 'Cause
Airbending
I feel
fighting
like
game?
you like cynical shows. No. There's a fighting game?
Yeah, apparently it's like a really dope fighting game. Like they really
okay.
made a good fighting system. But I am not one to judge. Savon is the expert in that area.
Savon just downloaded a new fighting game. He's playing Marvel Tokon or something.
Yeah, fighting soul.
It looked fun.
Yeah.
All right, friends. We're out here. See you later. Go Lakers. Bye.
Boo Lakers.
Incredible!